Now it's not given in any way that this is gonna look good. This is just a way to get started. And the sculpting environment can be quite hard to start with because you don't know where to begin. That's the hardest part, to know where to start, how to just approach a design or a problem. But the more you get into it, the more you learn that it's just to start somewhere and create a body and then just mess around with it, basically. Because you can always go in and tweak it, and that's basically what I'm gonna show you the most in this tutorial, and that is how to go in and tweak it until it looks like you want it to, basically. So now we're approaching the front here. Now we're at the trickiest part, because we have to decide how to make this round edge here. So what I'm thinking is that I'm gonna let all these lines go down to the floor, basically. And there are some tools here that I can show you. You can do like this. And you can also, if you just click somewhere on the white or click escape, then you deselect the tool that you have. Or click escape like this. Now I deselected the tool. What I can do is you can remove lines and edges by just clicking backspace if you're on a Mac. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna merge this line with this point. So I click modify and Weld Vertices. And I'm not sure if this is going to work, so we'll see. Insert point. I want to insert a point between these two edges. And I want to remove that one. Now you can see that I'm using this tool to flatten the line, and I can click 0, and that will make it completely flat. And I can pull it down to the line. So now we have something to start to work with here. But now we're going to go in and start editing single points. And I wonder if there is a picture where we can actually see the shape. It looks like it is almost a bit flat here, but it's never really completely flat. There's always a slightly curve going on here. But it's a lot flatter than we have here, I think. So let's see. Let's go ahead and edit a bit. Now you can click either points or you can click surfaces. Points always, I mean, it gives you more precise control, but it's also easier to make a mess of things. So let's see. I know this this shape here is too sharp, and we are gonna do something about that. It's more curved. So what I'm thinking is that we're gonna use this line here, and also we have a line here that we can also use. And for this, I'm going to show you a tool that is really helpful, especially further down the track. And it's if you press utilities and display mode and you go into box display, that really helps. Now what we want to do is if you click insert points, you can insert lines that go all the way across many other lines. And sometimes it does not work like it did now. Let's try a different approach. Let's try to make one here. Yeah, that worked. So what I was thinking here is that let's see if we can use this to make a little bit what should we say, not so pointy nose here. First I'm just going to align them a bit, and then I'm going to click many of them. Now my experience is that if you play around with the design in box mode and it looks kind of right in the box mode, it will look good in the final rounded shape. But vice versa, if you're working in the rounded environment and it looks sort of good, it can be a total disaster. You can have a lot of overlaps, and you have all sorts of errors going on, and you don't know why. But then when you go into box mode, you can actually see what's going on. So I really recommend playing around in the box mode. It's really good, and this has actually saved a lot of my projects where I was in the almost giving up, and then I saw this. It was actually in a tutorial by I can show you a channel that is really good. 3D printing tech. I thought it was, at least. "3D print tech design." Sorry. Yeah, you should check this out. Anton Monson, he does a lot of good tutorials, and he have a tutorial where he's drawing a Tesla. That's a really good tutorial if you want to see more of the sculpting environment. I really recommend check that out. So from him I saw when he was working in the box mode, and that was I don't think game changer is a too big of a word, because it's yeah, it's gonna save a lot of projects, I'm sure. So let's see. I'm actually gonna change where this line. I want the line to go go here instead. So let's change this strategy. So I want this line to continue around. So I'm gonna add a line there. Now you can see that I can move them in relation to different planes. So it gets kind of messy sometimes here, and then you need to first adjust it in one plane, and then you can go on and adjust it in another one. So what I will do now is I will check for these lines to make sure they run basically in a shape that looks similar to what I want to achieve. And then I will look from forward direction and make sure they follow the right curvature there as well. I will show you in a bit. So let's pull all these down. A lot of times it's easier to mark many of them at once, and then you can first move them rough and then go in and fine tune. And now we can look from the front, and this line is basically kind of straight, I guess, on the full scale. So let's just make it perfectly straight. Let's make this one as well. It's kind of a nice model, this, because it's very symmetrical. It doesn't have so much crazy shapes going on. So let's thank the designers for that. And let's check it from above. Here we can see that we have some things going on. Now I think it's time to go ahead and check how this looks in the rounded display mode. Yeah, kind of getting there. It's a bit too flat here, so we need to add more curvature. But we got this rounded piece down here, so that's what I wanted to get with this line. So that's in place. So the thing that is going on is that we have a too long piece here that is flat. So what I'll do is I will move this line a bit forward. This is really annoying that when you're in the environment and you press a plane on the box up here, it disappears and it doesn't bring the model up in focus. I guess this is something that Autodesk could take a look at. It would be really convenient if it zooms in on the, especially if, of course, if you don't have anything selected and you have a big model with tons of components, of course the environment cannot know which one you intend to look at. But if you have edges selected, there's quite a big of a chance that you want to work with them and see them. So it would be really convenient if they were highlighted. So And I mean, this process you can put, I mean, you can choose really free how much time you want to put into this. The more time you put into it, obviously it's gonna look better. Now here we have one thing that might cause some trouble. Fusion doesn't always like when you have an edge here that just ends nowhere. So we're gonna pull it somewhere. I guess we could. Let's bring it here and see. And see what happens. It's a draw if we take this one down here or that one up here. We'll see how it looks. Let's jump over to the rounded mode now and see. Yeah, I think we're getting there. This it's a little bit too sharp. Too sharp corner here. So we're gonna make something about that. And now maybe you can see what I mean with this. That it's really hard to work in the rounded environment sometimes, because you can see these lines looks really crazy here, but you can see that the surface is not crazy. It's just how these rounded lines are displayed when Fusion does its thing to calculate the rounded surfaces based on these polygons, or what we should call them. So let's jump back to the box mode and let's see what we can do about that sharp corner. But we can see that the thing that is causing the sharp corner is that the distance between these lines is great here, and it gets smaller and smaller. So we need to spread the curve here. So let's see what we can do. I guess we could bring in this line. Yeah, we should do that. Now this gets a little bit trickier now. When it's hard to find just one perfectly aligned view to work in. Maybe we can work in the top view. So something like that maybe. Because this will cause the curvature to go down to this point instead of that point. So it will spread out the curve a bit. Yeah, let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks better. But we can work more with this if we want to. And of course, I mean, you can work in this in the rounded environment too. You can try out and press and pull here and there, and you can go back into the box mode and see what it has done. I just find it more convenient to work in the box mode. But we can see that we have some problems with this shape here. I want this line to go more round. So let's see what we can do. I think here these are too straight. I think that's one thing that makes it look a bit ugly. So let's bring these forward. And I actually think we're gonna change the strategy here. Now you can see what I mean with the fact that this is a process of trial and error. And now we're gonna have to see where we need that point to be. So let's see how this looks. Yeah, that's starting to look something like it, I guess. It's a little bit like pointy here. I'm gonna see if I can do something about it. I'm gonna try to do it in the rounded mode now. If it's just a minor adjustment and you know what you want from it, you can always try to do it in the rounded display mode. It's more like when you do the really heavy shaping stuff. That's I wouldn't say impossible. You should never say that, but chances are you're gonna work forever, and then when you try to do something with a shape, you get tons of errors. So at least if you're working for a while in this mode, be sure to go back to box mode and just check so everything is so there's no overlapping surfaces. That is the most important thing, because if you have overlaps, that makes it impossible to make a hollow body, for example. And sometimes Fusion just refuses to even make a solid of it, or even a thickened surface. That might also not be possible if the model is too messed up. So I know it's far from perfect, but yeah, let's see. Let's go back to box mode and see if there's something obvious we could do. Yeah, there's one thing we could do. I'm gonna tilt this line a bit. Basically, the rule of thumb is to just make all the lines follow the curvature you're thinking of. If you have a shape, try to make all the lines follow the shape from all directions. If they do, then chances are good that when you go to the rounded mode it will actually look like what you want to accomplish. But then you also have to look from all different angles. It's not enough just to look from the side, for example. This line looks weird, so it's gonna have some weird effects on the shape, so I'm gonna try to adjust it a bit. Now you can see that this line follows a really nice curve here, and that's what we want to have. And what I mean from different perspectives, for example, now here you can see from the front perspective. Now you can see most of these lines, they go pretty straight, so there's not really any big problems going on. But let's say you had something like this, and if you look from the side, it can be now you have a shadow here, but if you just look at how the lines follow the shape, you cannot really see that it's how messed up it is. So make sure you look from all different angles. Now here I can see that there's something going on here. And there's nothing that says that these need to be straight. They can be curved in towards the middle or something. It depends on the shape. If you have a really pointy nose, then this line would probably go in towards the middle if you look from above. But this one almost keeps its width all the way up front, so that's why I decided to work in this way. Now what you can do also, because all these weird lines here make it a little bit hard to see the shape, so you can click on the display icon and visual style and just shaded, and that makes it easier to see the actual shape. And if we're really picky now, we can see that we have a little bit of a sharp bend here on the side. And also we can see that the radius kind of looks like it gets smaller here. It's bigger up here and it's smaller here. And we could work a little bit with that before we continue. So let's select the shaded with visible edges only. That's the standard mode.